Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Now, as a YouTuber, this is not the kind of video that I like to make. Today I received a copyright strike on one of my videos, my latest tutorial video. So I want to talk a little bit about what is actually going on and why is this happening. So, as someone who makes educational content on music production, I need music to actually show what is going on in music. And sometimes, when I'm talking, for example, about a structure, like I did in my last video, I actually need to play that music, so I can make my points when educating people. So what it means for me that I'm working with other people's music is that I have to respect a few laws. Now you might say, okay, so if you're working with somebody else's music, you're going to get copyright strikes, or you're going to get copyright claims, or whichever they choose to do. In this case, it was a copyright claim, and then when I decided to appeal the claim, they decided to uphold it and it became a strike. And yes, in theory, we do have to deal with copyright, but there's a kind of an exception to copyright, and that is the clause of fair use. Now, before we get into the actual details of what the law says or whatever, I have to say that I'm not a lawyer, nor an attorney, nor whatever. I just read the text and interpret it in what I think it actually says. What I decided to do for this video, I decided to look up the law, the American law, that's the actual copyright law that we deal with, because YouTube is based in America. And I also decided to look up a few fair use cases, because those apply to what is happening here. Now, in essence, there are three terms that we actually deal with. We deal with copyright, we deal with fair use, and we deal with Dmca. Those are three different things, although fair use is part of copyright law. So the way it works is copyright law lays out the law in which you cannot use other people's intellectual property just as it is. If you only look at copyright law, at the law itself, it will say, okay, you cannot use somebody else's intellectual property without a license or without permission or whatever. But if we then take into account fair use, which as I said is part of the copyright law but is an exception on it, there are a few exceptions to this rule. The third thing that we deal with is Dmca, which as creators we don't really deal with it ourselves. It's really the platform, the YouTube, that deals with that for us. But it has some very nasty implications for us as creators that I will get back to later. Now the thing is with fair use is that contrary to popular belief, you cannot actually determine fair use as an individual or as YouTube or even as Base 79, which is the company that filed the claim, or even Outsiders, which is the artist that I took the music from. None of those people can determine fair use. The only person who can do that is a judge in a lawsuit. So you would have to go to trial if you want to actually determine fair use. What that really means is that it goes on a case-by-case basis. If I were to appeal this to a court, then my video would maybe fall under fair use, or it wouldn't, but it wouldn't really set a precedent for future cases in this unless they go to trial as well. You cannot really say, okay, because his use is fair use and my use is very, very similar to that, my use is also fair use. A judge has to decide that for you. So I want to say I cannot determine fair use here right now while I'm sitting here. I would have to go to trial to do that. However, what I could do is look at the legal precedent and see, okay, if I were to go to trial, what would be my chance? Just having an educated guess. We can look at which factors are considered. We can look at how are they considered, how are they weighed, stuff like that. So there's four factors that come into play when a judge determines fair use. There's the purpose and character of the use, which looks at is your trend. There is the purpose of the use, which looks at are you using it for commercial purposes or not? Are you making, in that sense, are you making money off of it or not? Is it educational? Is it entertainment? All that kind of stuff. What is the character of the way that you use the copyrighted material? The second factor is the nature of the copyrighted work. So that looks in the same way at the copyrighted work itself. So just to clarify here, the first factor is my video. So what I am doing with my video, how I am presenting my video, that kind of stuff. And then the second factor is the original copyrighted material. So in this case, the song that I used to make my video. The third factor is the amount of original work that you use. Do you use the whole thing or do you use small segments? Stuff like that. And then finally, and this is a very important one, is how does my work affect the marketability and the market value of the original work? So to give you a quick example of what that means, if you take, for example, a whole movie and you put a little screen of you watching the movie in the top corner or something like that, and then you post that onto the internet, obviously you would lower the value of that movie because people can just search for your video and they would be able to see the whole movie and therefore not have to buy the movie itself or ticket to the cinema or whatever. So now I quickly want to look at the actual case that is laid against this video. So here we see it. This is the video as I can see it myself. This is the only way I can see it. The thumbnail has been removed. The whole video has been removed from the systems of YouTube. I can no longer download this particular video. Normally what YouTube does is it keeps the original video that you can download again if you need it for something. For example, I would like to have it for this edit, but I cannot even download the video as of now. The reason for that is because we are at a strike here. And a strike is really different from a claim. What happens with a claim is that, okay, YouTube is informed about this copyright infringement and they just send the money to whoever owns the copyright instead of the creator of the original work. What a strike is it's more intense because it either means that they specifically target you with a strike, or you have appealed your claim a few times, like I did in this case, and then it went into a strike. Now the reason why I appealed is because I thought I had a fairly strong case for fair use. And I say that knowing that I cannot determine fair use, but within YouTube systems, they say if you have a strong case for fair use, you should state it because, you know, a final step of this whole process after the strike, if I would want to take action, is to actually go to court and prove that you are innocent, that you're using it in terms of fair use. And obviously you don't want to go to court to have to prove that you're fair use. If you can just convince the claimant that you're using it in fair use, then you wouldn't have to go to court. Neither me nor the claimant wants to go to court over this, obviously. So what happens when you get a claim is that you have two options. You can either appeal it and you go through the whole process, or you just let it slide. In this case, I didn't want to let it slide because, as I said, I thought I was within my right of fair use. Now, to be honest, for this video, I had a whole thing prepared with a few summary of cases and looking into the actual law, looking at the actual text of the law and stuff like that, and just determining that I'm in fair use. But to be honest, for the story, it doesn't really matter. For the problem that I actually want to explain, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, for me right now, it doesn't really matter in terms of money or something like that. It just means that for the next 90 days, if this problem does not get resolved, I would need to be a little bit more careful about using copyrighted content. And obviously I will do that from now on. The real problem here is that as somebody who creates educational content, I want to provide the best possible content for you guys. And not being able to analyze a track of somebody or recreate a sound from a track or something like that without actually showing off what I'm analyzing, it's going to be a little bit harder. I have fewer options. So for me, the real problem that is happening right now is that I'm being limited in what I can actually provide in terms of content for at least the first 90 days, because that's how long the strike stands. And then obviously also later, if I don't want any more copyright strikes as well. So then you might say, okay, so for this, we would need some kind of legal loophole to be able to create content, right? To be able to do this. You would need to change the law so that copyright law is less strict and you're just able to use whatever material you want. In an ideal world, you would want that. Well, for me, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is that copyright law is kind of fine. It's the other two laws that I discussed at the beginning. The fair use and the Dmca. Now for fair use, okay, I wouldn't say it is that it's broken or something like that. What I would say that we would ideally want is some kind of fair use where we can preemptively, without going to court, determine, okay, this is okay to use and this isn't okay. I believe in the modern day world, the way we have set up the internet and the way we are using copyright on the internet nowadays, you're going to have so many cases, if everybody wants to claim fair use and actually go to court, that the capacity of the courts is just going to get overrun with cases, if that were to happen. To me, the big problem actually is Dmca. And the reason for that is in all this whole situation and in this whole video as well, you might have noticed that I didn't once mention the involvement of YouTube. And that is because they can't. They cannot be involved with what is going on here. They cannot defend me, they cannot defend the copyright holder, they cannot do anything. And the reason for that is the safe harbor provision. And what that means is that as long as YouTube does not know that copyright infringement is going on their platform, they cannot be sued for it. And the reason for that is obvious. Once the internet started to grow and platforms like YouTube and other distribution platforms started to pop up, they didn't want to be held responsible for all of the content that everybody was posting. So these platforms got around that using the safe harbor provisions and everything was fine. They wouldn't be held responsible for the content that people posted, and the copyright claims and strikes and whatever other methods that are being used are just coming directly from the claimant to the content producer and back. The problem is, when you get into the claim window, YouTube says if you have a strong case for fair use, then you should write that. So I did. I believed I had a strong case for fair use. They said you should write that. You should be able to challenge this claim and say, no, actually my use of the content falls within fair use, and then you should be okay. So YouTube does tell me, if you think that you are within fair use, then go ahead and counterclaim. Then go ahead and challenge this claim. Say, no, actually I am using this with fair use. So that's what I did. So from that point on, YouTube really cannot legally help you, because if they were to do that, then it wouldn't fall under the safe harbor provisions. So really, YouTube tells you, okay, if you think you have a strong case, go for it. And then once you do go for it, they're like, can't do anything. Now I might say then, okay, so you're mad with Base 79, the company that is claiming the content and claiming your video. And to be honest, I don't even blame them, because they are also just doing their job. They are just saying, okay, we have this content here, and there's this automatic system that just gives us all of the copies of all of the songs that we have registered, and it allows us to mass copyright claim everything. And obviously, as a company, they're going to do that. They don't go case by case looking, okay, maybe this is fair use, maybe this isn't. Then they wouldn't be able to do that. It would cost them too much money to actually do that. Base 79 represents a whole bunch of different labels and a whole bunch of different artists, individual artists as well. So for them to look through all of the uses of their content and determine fair use themselves before making a claim, it's impossible. So the fact that they claim my video is okay, happens. What I am mad about is that I cannot get them to actually resolve it. Once I state my case for fair use, what I would like is some kind of communication. Instead of just saying, no, they disagreed with your play, they would need to give some kind of communication on why they disagreed. Why do they think that my use of the content is not fair use? I haven't heard that from them. I sent them an email asking for that, which I did this morning, but only because after all of this debacle, after claim, counterclaim, 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 once it got to the strike, only then am I able to actually see the email address of the company. And again, this is the way YouTube provides their system. You are not able to directly talk to the claimant. Now, a quick side note, I know a lot of people are going to ask about this. It says manually detected here. This changed once it became a strike. When it was still a claim, when it was still, just the simple claim, it was actually automatically detected. Once you get from a claim to a strike, then obviously they have to manually do something to get there. They have to manually say, no, this is actually ours, this is our content, and the use is not fair use. So at that point, it becomes manually detected. So just to remove as much confusion as possible, it was automatically detected initially, but once it became a strike, it becomes manually detected. So just to round up the video, let's talk a little bit about what this means for the channel, what this means for me moving forward, and everything like that. First of all, the video is removed as of now, and you will not be able to watch it. Obviously, once there's an update on that, I'll make like a community post or something like that. Second of all, it might inhibit my uploads or live streaming thing. I don't know, to be honest. Right now, I have not seen it yet. I'm just making this video as fast as possible just to get an update out there for the people who are wondering where that video is and stuff like that. I wanted to just be as quick as possible. But the real reason what I wanted to do here with this video is just give you a little bit of a behind the screens look at what happens on a day-to-day basis on YouTube now as a music educator. Also, I wanted to rant a little bit. That's fine, I think. So I know this has been a very long rant. As of recording right now, it's been 40 minutes, but obviously I'm going to cut that down a lot. What I want to say is I take this stuff very seriously. I like copyright. I like having my own work protected under copyright, the music that I make as an artist, and all of the videos as well. Those are also under copyright. And I would like to be able to work within the law. The problem is that A, the law, and B, the system does not allow me to do that. There's no standard within the law that I can say, okay, I can use that much of a work and it has to be transformative in a certain way. You have to take it, for example, from the entertainment purpose that is a musical piece and turn it into educational content, something like that. I would like there to be a law that I can just follow and work within. For me, and I think for many content creators, that would be ideal. Just knowing, okay, where is the line, and I can walk right up until that line, and everybody will be fine. The second thing is that because of the way Dmca is structured, the whole YouTube copyright claiming system really feels broken and impersonal. I have gotten this claim, I have this problem now where I had this claim and now it has turned into a strike, and I haven't had any word from YouTube. I haven't had any word from Base 79. I had to reach out to them to try to resolve this. I don't know if they have answered yet. I don't know if they will. Base 79, as I said, is a massive corporation and they have no incentive to respond to me. Also, I have no idea if a human has ever seen this case or if they just automatically dismiss everything. Is that the case? Are they allowed to do that? We don't know. We don't know how the copyright system works from the point of view of Base 79 as creators. And as a creator who wants to work within the law with other people's copyrighted material, it's important to know those things. So for me, sometimes it just feels like within the system that we have created of copyright, DMCA, the way YouTube works and everything, I am just not able to make the content that I want to make. And this is a prime example of that case where it really backfires, where I really have a consequence of an actual strike. Now, as I said, I take this stuff very, very seriously. You might have remembered at the start of the year, I released a remix of Dash Glitch, who is a good friend of mine. He's also a YouTuber and does music education as well, and he's also an artist. So I took one of his tracks, because obviously that's easier to arrange. And it took me a month from where I was finished with the track to where I could say, okay, now I can start to publish it, which is again also a whole process with getting it up on Spotify and everything. There was a month in between just trying to figure out, okay, is this going to cause problems with any claimant systems that I'm using? Is it going to cause problems with any claimant system that Dash is using? They both have the same name. How about artwork? Can I use the artwork? I ended up not using the artwork. And that took me a long time to figure everything out legally, how I could post this remix, how I could use this other person's musical material, even though I had permission, how I could use his musical material and not get either of us in trouble. Because there's automatic systems that just claim everything. And I have the power to use one of those systems. When I publish something to Spotify and all of the other streaming platforms, then they give me the option, okay, do you also want to claim via Facebook? Do you want to claim via YouTube Music? That kind of stuff. And obviously I didn't want to end up in the situation where, because I upload my remix to a platform, that platform takes down either my remix or Dash's Glitch's original work, because they conflict with each other. They use the same copyrighted material. And really, as I said, that's a long work. And for a remix, okay, you just have to do that. You know that once you finish a track, it takes a few months to go from the finished master to the actual release. You have to get the artwork, you have to get all of the publishing stuff right, you have to get all of the metadata right. And just publishing something takes a month. Once I hit submit on the publisher, it takes them around a month to actually get it up on Spotify and all the other services correctly. And obviously I want them to be on all services at the same time. So for music, I can work with that. I can work around that, but I don't want to do that for every video. So that leaves me no other option but to not use other people's content at all, even if it falls within fair use. Which will mean for the channel that some things I just cannot make. Some kinds of content, like the deconstruction exercise that I did before. I was going to make another one of those. I was going to finish the whole project and deconstruct the whole thing, all of the different elements, and then post it again. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that because I'll get another claim, maybe even another strike, even though I feel that I'm legally within my right to do that. I just don't want to deal with the hassle of that. So that's the video. It's just a little bit of an update video as well as a rant. Obviously, I wanted to update you guys on where that video went, and I also just wanted to rant a little bit about the system and the way things work here on YouTube and what I have to deal with as a content creator. I know this is not the kind of video that you're expecting, but hopefully it was still informative and useful. As an artist, at some point you're going to have to deal with copyright whether you want or not. And maybe even from the other side, maybe one day you find your own music being used for some kind of content that you didn't agree to, and that you say, okay, this isn't fair use, and then you have to be the one that claims the content. So kind of see this also as a little bit of a behind the scenes as well. Now that being said, I don't know exactly when things are going to go up. If everything is allowed to go up, as I said, I don't know exactly how this affects my channel. We'll have to see. But I do want to say that once this goes up, there is already going to be a tutorial that's in the works that I will also be posting, hopefully very close to now. You'll obviously get the notification of the community post that I put out before every video, and then you'll know. For now though, this is going to be the video. I'm sorry that's a little bit different, so I hope to see you for the next tutorial. Bye bye.